2, 1.
What's up, everybody? Ian Walsh, Hard Money Banker, joined with one of my partners, Ryan Walsh. Josh Wyman, Hard Money Bankers, not Ryan Walsh. Ryan's flying.
Nobody gets me right, Johnny. I'm telling you, who the heck is this guy, right?
The guest we've had on several times on the show, awesome guest to always have. And as I said right before the show, I'm going to learn something today because I always do. Johnny Fowler, thanks for coming on, man.
Anytime. Love your intro, by the way. It's really put together really well. Like it.
I know. I always feel like I need to be on like a rock stage, and then it's just like a letdown when I come into the show because I'm like, how do I like bring that energy into the show, right? But yeah, my brother put that together, and it's worked out. So, so anybody that doesn't know you, Johnny, so you actually your background in this business, in this entire mortgage business, you had a pretty strong hand in building one of the largest mortgage companies in the world back in the day, and you know, you've shifted over the years, but your level of like knowledge, awareness is just like super keen. And so, you know, I do private money. So I don't really, you know, there's certain people I listen to when it comes to like A-paper and what's going on in the bigger scene, because ultimately I have to know what our exit strategies look like.
Yep.
You're the man of the hour. So what, talk to us, man. Welcome again, and tell us what's happening in this different marketplace.
Thank you so much, first of all, for having me. I love being part of this. And kind of like you said, you're in a different type setup than I am. So I'm more forward mortgage. I'm more A-paper. I recommend you, which I know you see it all the time.
I would say thank you. Yes,
to people, because I love what you do and I love the story behind it. And if nobody's ever heard this story, I hope you have it copied down somewhere. You've got it recorded, because I absolutely love what you guys do. Now, what's going on in our market? So we have just gone through, so in May of 2024 will be my 30th anniversary in this business.
Nice.
We have just gone through the worst year that I have ever seen, including the late 90s, including 2007, 2008. We have just come through that. And I think this is just my opinion. You know, people love beating up on people who get things wrong, but I don't care. I think this is my opinion, is that we kind of came through it at the end of October, but it will be sometime in spring, summer before we realize that we came through it in October. November got a little better, December got a little better, and so forth. But I will tell you, with, in my opinion, and I don't know what the right answer is, but in my opinion, just the government screwed up so bad during this pandemic and all of that, that we've come through the worst time ever in recorded history in the mortgage business. Now it is time in the real estate industry and the mortgage industry. And some of the experts are saying we've got a 20-year run ahead of us. What's normal in our business is every 22 months, every 7 years, there is some sort of crash. It lasts for about 22 months during that time period. This one was kind of exacerbated because this one was supposed to happen. And if you guys will remember, the end of 2019, we were already starting to crash. The beginning of 2020, before this ever hit, we were starting to crash. The market was slowing down. Rates were starting to go up. We were getting okay with inventory, things like that. And then with the just ridiculous quantitative easing and what it did to rates, people kind of got used to it and we went crazy. But allegedly, we've got a 20-year run because, thank God, for the guys your age, Millennials and Z are the largest populations that have ever been on this big blue marble. You're waiting longer to buy, but when you buy, you're buying with intelligence. You're buying. You truly are the smartest generation, as far as I'm concerned. You know how to use tech. You're not afraid of tech, and there is so many of you out there. And that's one of the things I get a kick out of when people are teasing and making jokes about, the millennials and Z. But we have a massive real estate future because of you guys for the next 20 years.
So you think we just saw the bottom? You think that was the bottom we just pulled out of?
I think if you're looking at a clock that we hit 6:30, about, let's just say, for the record, I'm going to say the end of October.
Wow. So I remember 2008 as you do. And you said, and this year was, everybody felt the slowdown. I watched the washout with like realtors and stuff, but you feel this was the worst year on record, huh? That you
ever.
Wow.
Ever. If you take everything into account, and it's not just that rates went back up, because when I got in the business, when I financed my very first house in May of 1994, it was 8.5% on an FHA loan as a strong A paper buyer. And that was normal. And we knew at the time when you went home shopping that your payment was going to be about 1%. So if you bought a $100,000 house, you're going to have a $1,000 a month mortgage.
Hey, Johnny, I got a question for you.
Yes.
Can you define worst year ever? Like, what are we talking about? Because I think it really depends whether you're an investor, whether you're a retail home buyer, whether you're a lender, like what that perspective really looks like.
So from each one of those aspects, let's say you're a consumer. If you're a consumer, you just watched your friends, your parents, your relatives get a 2.5% 30-year mortgage, and now you're being forced to get a 6%. Wait, 6.25. Wait, 6.5. Wait, 7. Wait, 7. Wait, 8. Wait, 8.5% mortgage. When you went to sleep, then as a consumer, you also are stuck in this position where we have so much legal immigration coming in, more than we've ever had before. We have so many formations because your generation is forming homes, forming families, buying their own. Your generation, thank God, is investing. So what would happen is, and you guys saw the joke that the realtors would put up when people would say, we like this house, but we want to see something a little more expensive. And the real estate agent said, I can show you this house again tomorrow if that's what you want. And that was just the truth. So that's going on. Then all of a sudden, and remember, I'm going off of my side, the purchase money, the refinance a little bit, inventory. You've got the worst inventory crisis. Builders weren't building enough. They're still not building enough. I've heard 2 or 3 different stats. One of them said we're basically 2 million homes behind. One of them said we're 4 million homes behind. On if you put them on the ground right now, the market would stop for about 120 days, and then it would start over again, kind of thing. So when I say worst, margin compression like crazy to try and run a business. Consumers so lost, confused, and angry about what they just, on Tuesday, you could get a 2.5. On Thursday, it was 8.5. And then the fact that home sellers aren't putting their homes on the market because they're afraid of them sitting. Because remember, it was just, 2 years ago, you could list your single family on the market and get 10 offers in 3 days. So this is what people started getting used to. Now, all of a sudden, when interest rates are hitting 7% and 8%, people aren't putting their house on the market. So all of these formations can't leave the house. They're still stuck with mom and dad or grandma or whatever. And you've got this pent up demand. And we hear stories about, 2 and 3 families living inside of grandma's house, waiting. And then On top of that, the misinformation, so much bad misinformation. You've got drunk uncle at Thanksgiving saying we're in the biggest bubble that there's ever been, and home values are going to drop by 50% in the next 5 minutes. And, all of these crazy things that are just not possible for anybody who knows how to look at the market and look at how many formations and look at how much pent-up demand and how much inventory we have. And almost anywhere in the country, you're sitting at 30 days, 60 days inventory, which is not a healthy market. So that's kind of what I mean by when I say worst market ever.
So, okay, so we have two places to go from here. We're either going to raise the rates or we're going to drop them. And then assuming we're not raising them at this point, I think they said they're dropping them this year. Are we going to flood the market? Or are people going to go with FOMO? I should sell ASAP. And you think, yeah, that's what you're feeling as well.
What I think is going to happen is it's always, and I don't know when this is going to actually be aired, but it's kind of like planting a tree. The best time was 20 years ago. If not, today's the best time. If this is going to be aired before the end of March, I am begging your people, whether it be investors, whether it be first-time home buyers, whether it be move up, move down, whatever it is, to go buy a property today. Today. Get up off your ass, go buy a property today. Because after March, when we start hitting April, May, there's going to be a frenzy like a piranha farm, I think, that you've never seen before.
Like the 2020? Like the 2020 frenzy?
I think it'll be almost even worse, to tell you the truth, in a different way. Because we are so low on inventory. We're so pent up on demand. Do you guys remember when, especially in any of the larger cities, you guys are really close to Philadelphia?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when the pandemic's going on and everybody is stuck inside of an 800 square foot condo, 31 stories in the air, with their loved one, and we can't go anywhere? We have to wear this freaking mask. I can't go to a restaurant, and I can't go to work, and I'm stuck here. And all of a sudden, the crime rate went through the freaking roof. And then all of a sudden, they said, it's over. You can take your mask off. And then everybody went and bought little mini ranches as far away from the freaking city as they could.
Yeah, the exodus.
Yep.
Exactly. And decided they wanted to become farmers. They're going to grow their own food. They kind of got tired of this. So what's happened is builders are like, think about it. If you're a builder, regardless if you're a 200 home a year builder or a 2,000 home a year builder, what do? Do I build out in the wilderness and hope people come? Do I build on larger plots of land? Do I build in the suburbs where I have been building for all of these years? And they sat there and they didn't know what to do. And the developers slowed down and the builders slowed down. So now you've got all of those people that are tired and ready. Now all of a sudden interest rates are coming down. It was 8% the other day. Now it's 6.5%, 6.75%. And what the market says and what the people that I listen to, like Barry Habib, is the smartest human being in the world in the real estate industry, no ifs, ands, or buts. When you start listening to what they're saying, we are in such a pent-up demand that all of a sudden, when we get down to 5.5 this year, is what speculation's saying, we'll be in the 5s. And people will start, okay, let's go. It's not the 8s, let's go. Well, then there's such a massive demand. Well, now, since the demand is so high and the supply is still low, that I can easily put my $350,000 house on the market for $425 and get bidding wars again.
Oh man, and I can't even fathom that happening right now. Like I couldn't even. I mean, you're right though. I mean, if we hit the 5s again, that number from where we are right now, I'm going. Yeah, I'm in. Like that's a number that has some sex appeal to it, right? You're like that's. And if I'm thinking that, you're thinking that, the whole world's thinking that. So
you guys are some of the smartest guys in the country about knowing what's going on, because you not only know what's going on my side, but you know what's going on the wholesale side, on the the fix and flips and all of those things. So you can see it, and you can see it already. Even right now, my guys are saying, holy shit. Yesterday, I'm getting phone calls. If the phone keeps going for the rest of January like it was today, it's summertime all over again, 2020.
Well, so I got something that I'm going to pile on with what you're saying here. I'm in the secondary market. I'm in Central PA, right? We got Lancaster, we've got Harrisburg, and a lot of smaller towns. During 2008, we had a drop of 3.74%, right? That when everybody else was burning, this area still has multiple offers on really nice houses.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's people waiting out the door bidding on these places, and there might not be 20, but there's 3. So I think, if what you're saying comes to fruition, it's going to be a nightmare in some of these secondary markets where people fled from bigger cities and like they've got a life, in these places. And I mean, I've seen prices go up since I moved out here 4 years ago of, I don't know, 150%.
Oh yeah.
We're talking 10 years of appreciation overnight. So my only pushback, I guess, is that, I mean, a lot of these job numbers, a lot of these numbers that are coming out, they don't jive with lowering interest rates. And I know we're in an election year, and things have to look rosy on that front. But I think there may be some pushback on some of these interest rate drops.
So if you look at all of the Fed governors, the ones that are hawks, the ones that are doves, the ones that are loudmouths, we've got a greater majority, and I think it was 9 of them that have said we're going to have at least 3 of them this year, 3 rate drops. There's obviously a couple of them that are crazy that say, you people haven't suffered enough yet, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do believe it will happen. I do think that there's things that are going to happen, and there's things that I'm afraid of also. I'm afraid that right now we are training people to be renters for the rest of their life. So you've got so many guys that are social media gurus that you see them putting out information like crazy. And they're saying, even one of those guys said something that was just as asinine and stupid. I think he said something like, if you don't have $20 million in the bank, you have no business buying a home. When you look at the richest people in this country, the top 5% have like a $2 million net worth, not in the bank. So, but those people also own a ton of doors, So I think that we are training people to become renters. And I'll tell you why that scares me. It's not because of my business, because 70+% of generational wealth in this country is built from real estate. It is built from your parents that bought that 4,000 square foot house for $150,000. And when they get to the point to where they can retire, or maybe they already have retired, they can sell that house and it's now worth $750,000. And now they've got money to live on, as opposed to being destitute and hoping and praying for Social Security. And I know that that's not you guys exactly, but that's kind of the picture of the country. Who's going to pay for all of these people that are now destitute for healthcare, for homes, for transportation, for utilities? Where's that money going to come from? Because so many people own so many doors, and that one guy that owns his house and the house next door is now a renter, and he doesn't have that wealth that he's building every single day.
Yeah. I mean, that concept runs way deeper than the surface level of this. I mean, you're from Texas, you understand, you understand this kind of stuff pretty well. BlackRock is buying up the country right now and very much enjoying everybody being a renter. So there's a whole concern with that, right? I think it's by like 2030, like 60% of the country is going to be
bingo.
So there's a reason that initiative is being promoted. And it's like the last free, where you said just what you said, most of the people in this country that are millionaires made it through real estate, and everybody's kind of always heard that. Well, if you take that away, you decimate, like, and quite frankly, at this point, millionaire is hovering on the middle class, upper middle class level, right? That's no longer wealthy to retire. That's upper middle class. So you just ruin it's gone. Like, the middle class is gone if you take that kind of door away. Like, I'm not really sure everybody has to become social media content creator, and like you said, have these guys that are delusional saying if you don't have $20 million, you gotta you're like, what world are you living in, man? Like, that's not your disconnect's serious. So I don't know what to make out of that. I don't know what the next move is. We are in a very, very volatile election year. I think this is going to be the most volatile year that we might see in a long time in things outside of real estate, quite frankly, because it's a polarizing election. The current president can't speak, like, literally. And we have, Donald Trump could set the world on fire instantly. Like, so it's just like the balancing act right now is nuts. But from a real estate perspective, I mean, you know what? Sure, bring the fire in March. I love it. Bring the fire in March, right? Fine with me.
I think March, April is when people are going to start realizing it. So March and April is when we're going to talk about February. May is when we're going to talk about March and April and so forth. And to go back and just give my perspective on Josh's question. Josh had a question about not sure about having the rates come down or what the Fed's going to do, things like that. This is just purely my opinion. The party that's in charge right now that has screwed up this economy so bad is not going to go to the polls with rates in the 7s and 8s.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's not going. And even though people will say, oh, well, they have no say in it, and the president has no say in what the Fed does and all of that, that's a complete bullshit story. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to go to the polls like that.
No, you can't, because you lose, right? You go. It's an easy win for the other side if they go, hey, we're at 10% interest, the stock market's crashing. You don't even have to campaign. You just go, you can't have this guy. So they know they have, at a baseline level, you have to keep it there to maneuver the vote. So that's a good point.
You're fighting against the lowest competency rating of any sitting president ever when it comes to how the nation feels about the job.
Right.
And you're going to have, there's going to be, I can hardly wait, because, man, it's going to look like a freaking, a reality TV freak show coming up, I think.
Well, and I got a pile on to what you're saying. Those interest rates come down, there's going to be a lot more money in the economy.
Yep.
A lot more money in the economy means a lot more appreciation and inflation, all that kind of stuff. Where's the best place to be? Holding assets, right? If there's more money, you got to be holding assets. Otherwise, you're washed out.
It's not buying jet skis, I'll tell you that.
Oh, nice. Brought it right back. That was good. That was perfect. Like
I watched a buddy of mine do a podcast video the other day, and he was talking about the people who speculated on cars and used cars and all of that, and now the fact that they're dropping like 30% value a month right now.
Wow.
It's telltale. But the thing about real estate, and we just don't have enough. No matter what, you think about how many people are coming to this country and how many people are moving. It's just insane how far behind we are. If your generation and the generation behind you decided tomorrow, you know what? And I wish somebody would help them with this. I wish somebody would teach them this, because these are things like we all learned, whether we did it or not, it's a different story, but we all learned that if you were 18 years old and you put $2,000 in the market today, and you put $2,000 a year in, when you got to be retirement age, you would be a multi-freaking millionaire because of this miracle called compound interest.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could get a better message out to the millennials and the Zers to get them into real estate, because my generation, the average age of a first-time home buyer was 25. Now the average age of a first-time home buyer is 33. If I would have missed out on buying property starting at 24, if I would have missed out and not done that, I would have lost out on $250,000 in equity, but I still got to pay rent no matter what,
Right.
I would have missed out on $250,000 in that time period. And I think we need to do a better job of getting people, especially with the systems that you guys have. I am perfectly fine. And this is something that I've thought about forever about you guys. And I don't know your underwriting guidelines and all of those things, but here's what I do know. I do know that you guys are smart. I do know that you guys are, if it makes sense, let's do it. So here's a scenario for you. You've got a 32-year-old kid living at home with mom and dad. Mom still washes his clothes. They still cook his food, all of those things. But he's got $50,000 sitting in the bank because he doesn't have any bills, and he's smart with his money. Now, if that kid wanted to buy an investment property and flip it, and had $50,000 to invest into a $150,000, $200,000 house, you guys are going to work with him, or at least direct him to put that money out there. And let's buy our first property and have it for a rental property. Let's buy our first property and flip it, whatever that may be. But let's just get into the freaking market and stop sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we've actually done deals like that. Actually, I mean, I don't know where along the way, but I'm sure we've done deals like that. If the asset's strong and you got some cash, I don't care where you're living. You can live in a sewer, doesn't. But the interesting point you made about that 8-year gap from 25 to 33. The way I look at compound interest when I'm looking at my own money or what have you, every 6 or 7 years, based on the rate of return that I kind of look at, you double your money. So
72.
Yeah. So, doubling your money is a big deal. It's a big deal when you do that a few times over the course of your life. So, 18 is the ideal age to get in, because if you're 18 to 25, that's a huge jump to then go from 25 to 30, 35 to 40. So, every 7 years you wait, that's not doubling your money. And so you're playing with house money after 7 years. Yep. And it's a nice, it's nice and it moves. Anybody that's been around compound interest for a period of time, you'll be shocked at how fast that account grows if you just stay consistent with contributions to it. So I agree with you. 25 to 35, even if it's not in the a paper mortgage that you're buying, and you can buy an investment property, like buy the investment property, put the money to use. If you put it in cash, you're going to kick yourself. Like you said, you missed out on $250,000 in equities, if you were eight years later. So I agree with you on that for sure. Awesome, man. I actually love this specific show, because we have this was like a good crystal ball. Usually I get people that are kind of like, maybe I'll throw something out there. Johnny's like, March, send it in March, pack it up, send it.
So before we go, I got a question. Yeah. I know we're going long, Ian. I'm sorry, but
no, that's cool.
Right. You said a 20-year run. You're telling me that we're going to be sitting on this run for another till 2044.
That's what, when you look at the chief economist, that's when you look at any of the prognosticators, any of those guys from NAR, from MBA, that's what they're saying, and they're able to prove it statistically very easily. If you asked me to put money on it, I would not put money on a 20-year run, because you cannot guess what's going to happen in the next 20 years, because theoretically in the next 20 years, we're going to have 5 presidents.
Right.
Theoretically, may not happen, but that's, you're going to have countries going to war. We can't guess, but going off of the stats, how many homes we have on the ground, how many builders we have, how much money, how many formations, and how much legal immigration we have coming in, 20-year run makes all the sense in the world when you look at the stats. Reality, different story.
Well, so I got to follow up on that. One of the biggest challenges right now for new construction is that the cost of construction is so high. I mean, a lot of the guys that I follow on Twitter are developers or builders, and they're running into problems where they're quoting jobs, or they're going under the assumption of a project that they finished 2 weeks ago. And now they're getting bids from these same contractors, and their prices are 15, 20, 30% higher. And I think we're really, I mean, maybe that plays into the 20-year run, that we don't have enough skilled contractors to actually build the houses. And that's why the costs are so high. But I don't know how you overcome that when right now, in a lot of places, housing is unaffordable to right to middle America, to the middle class. So how do we bump those prices another 20% at 5.25%? Right? It's a weird math problem.
We if you want to get really honest, and I don't know if this is the place to do it.
Oh, do it. I like these. Yeah.
There's some things that I am really, really worried about. I will tell you, and I'll probably catch some flack about this, but I will tell you that I do not see how this system as we have it is sustainable. I don't know what the answer is, and we can speculate what the answer is, but the system that we have today is not sustainable. I am with you, and I agree. I think that I don't know if there is a rebound. I don't know if there is a way back. There's one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen in a movie, and I can't think of the name of the movie right now, but I'll try and find it and send it to you guys. But it's one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen in my life, and it is the two leading roles in the movie. And one of them says, when life hands you lemons, and the other one says, you make lemonade. And he said, no. When life hands you lemons, you make lemons the most popular thing in the world. You put social media campaigns out that there has never been. You make lemon seeds to where they're the greatest delicacy there has ever been. You go out to Chanel, you go out to Versace, you go out to Coach, and you have them build their new line in lemon yellow. You own the world on lemon. And he goes on this 15-minute diatribe, and it's like, holy shit, this is real. He's not talking about lemons anymore. He's talking about our economy and our system. I do not think what we have is sustainable, and I don't know what the answer is. I do not think, and we've all seen this when we complain about minimum wage being too low, and we think that minimum wage should be a living wage, and we bump it up to fast food workers making $22 an hour. That's not sustainable. I'm not going to pay $10, $12, $15 for a Big Mac. It's not going to happen. So McDonald's, the biggest real estate company in the world, what are they going to do? They're going to go in and they're going to say, you know what? I can buy a robot for $50,000 and he'll make hamburgers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I don't have to have a human. So then you've got somebody else who's not working. And you've got people who can't afford to buy houses, and you've got people who can't afford. So now we've made what's popular now is we've even put TV shows out about it, and we're pushing tiny houses. Buy this little bitty 200 square foot house, and it's yours for $60,000. Well, let's figure that out on per square foot. Holy shit, this is Manhattan prices.
Right.
So what we have now is not sustainable the way we're going, the American dream type thing, and something's going to have to happen. I hope I'm not here when it does, I hope I'm done, but it's not sustainable, and there will be something. That's one of the reasons I'm scared of the 20-year thing. I'm 56 this year. That'll put me sitting at 76. If it does, that'd be the greatest 20 years ever. But I am afraid that something's going to happen.
Yeah, I think everybody's concerned. I think after everybody got fleeced after the last scenario I think it opened up everybody's eyes to how the world kind of really runs, and in the last 3 years. And I think because of that, everybody's got that thought in the back of their mind, and everybody looks around and we're like, what are we doing? Like, how many trillions you want to print and throw over to another country, and how many trillions you want to, like, numbers aren't real anymore. Like, they weren't real when so Obama was the first one to start printing, right? He was the first printer of money. And back then everybody was like, hey, we're going to be insolvent. And then now we just throw around trillions. Like, it's not like, what is the number? Nobody knows, right?
There's $1 trillion in debt service a year.
Yes. What does that even mean at this point? I don't know. Is that a big number? We don't know. At this point, you can't say that's a big number. And I'm like, It's not good that we can't tell if that's a big number. So the only thing in my opinion, that can come is something that I think Johnny's alluding to. I mean, we have CBDCs on the board. We have things like that are being, there's considerations out there. Buy silver, do your best with it. And
what do you do with it when you buy it?
Yeah, right. What do you do with it?
Never once have I ever seen anybody at Taco Bell paying for a taco with silver.
Flipping a silver coin. Yeah.
That's because there's still Taco Bell. That's because Taco Bell's not $27 for a burrito.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, it's close. It's close.
I know.
Dude. I actually think, and I'm sure it started before them, but for me, think about this. This is how fast it has happened. When Nixon took us off of the gold standard completely and put us into fiat currency. So that was only 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And look where we've gone. Look at how much money was in circulation. Look at savings. We were still in one-person working households.
Yep.
You couldn't have a one-person working household today. I mean, it's just not. You'd have to live in the shelter kind of thing. And so what is it now? Is it multi-generational? And you've watched some of these builders building the multi-gen homes, because that's what you're going to have to do at some point. And then, our tax burden, I know where you guys are at. Your insurance is cheaper and your taxes are cheaper. And we love to brag in Texas about how we don't have state income tax. But I will tell you this, on the average home where I live in Houston, Texas, Harris County, property taxes are probably about $8,000, $9,000 a year on the average home.
Wow.
What's the price point?
I'm sorry?
What's the price point of the house?
So let's go with I think 342 is our median.
Okay.
So 342, 350, something along those lines.
10 grand a year in taxes, yeah.
Some of the neighborhoods that are by me, Josh, are 5% annual tax rate.
Wow.
5%.
Wow.
You buy a $500,000 house, you owe a minimum of $25,000 a year for the rest of your freaking life. Our insurance premiums are 1 to 1.5% of home value. And now the insurance companies, there is no shopping around necessarily anymore because they've all formed this, alliance kind of deal. So you have, there you go. Perfect one. $350,000 house. Your insurance bill is now $5,000 a year. So you have to pay $1,500, $2,000 a month for the rest of your life minimum with a paid off house.
Yeah. With a paid off house.
And then we pay 8.25% at the register. So when I go buy, groceries or whatever, I pay 8.25%. They even tax labor now and all of those things. We're being taxed to death. And I think that there are a tremendous amount of people that have just said, I'm not doing it anymore. And they've dropped out of the market.
That is interesting. I was really hoping Texas was going to save us, but I don't think it's happening.
I think so. We're great. We're great at selling.
Yeah.
We're great at selling Elon Musk and saying, if you move your business here and you put your business here in South Texas, you'll pay no corporate income tax. You'll pay no franchise tax. We'll waive your taxes for 10 or 20 years. We are great at that.
Right.
The problem is when you waive all that money for all those people that are coming in that have to drive on roads and use our grid and things like that, then you have to tax that poor guy who's making $50,000 a year. You got to tax the fuck out of him.
Yeah.
Somebody's paying for that.
There you go.
It's the Walmart effect.
Yeah.
The Walmart. Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, let's get this thing rolling in March because it's going to be. I really now. I'll be honest. I'd love to have this fire and fury. I agree with you that something's coming down the pipeline that we all don't see, but we all know is there. We just can't put our finger on it, and it's going to be an interesting year. So, Johnny, how do people? What can we do for you? Where are you guys selling paper now? Are you guys nationwide or no?
Nationwide, 50 states. Any loan officer that's out there, I'd love to have them as long as they're purchase money. Any branch manager, any companies. We absorb so many companies because, again, back to Joshua's point, the cost of overhead is so exorbitant. It costs smaller mortgage companies, it costs so much money to have underwriters and processors and funders and shippers and file clerks and all of that. So we kind of help with that. We allow people to keep their company name. So if you want to run a DBA, not a big deal. If Hard Money Bankers wanted to become a branch, they could become a branch and keep the name Hard Money Bankers. Or something very similar. I don't know about the bankers part, but something very similar to it. So that, or, just supporting any of the stuff that I do. I put out a tremendous amount of information. I've got a class that I'm teaching now once a month online through Zoom called Epic Open House. My wife's a realtor. I think Ian knows that. And we have come up with a system over the past 4 or 5 years. The worst open house we've ever done was 36 people through in a 2-hour period. The best we've ever done is 104 people through in a 2-hour period. We just got another listing off of the last Epic open house that we had. And then some of our stuff's kind of different. So most of our Epic open houses, the buyer actually comes to the open house and we usually get the offers right after. And I teach that class. So, having anybody sign up for that and letting me teach them, I love teaching people how to market without spending a tremendous amount of money. There's no food truck at the Epic Open House. It costs $200 or less to have that many people show up.
That's impressive, and I can attest to your marketing. It's solid. So anybody that's looking to contact you, I have been scrolling your email at the bottom. Hopefully they'll reach out to you there. You're also on Facebook under your name, Johnathan Fowler, entertaining individual. And I appreciate having you, man. And we'll be in touch and see what's coming down the pipe in the next few months.
If anybody wants to, my business partner just came in here. If anybody wants to, and they watch this or you guys press it on, tell them to use discount code HMB, capital H, capital M, capital B, as in Hard Money Bankers 10, and they get a discount for taking that class.
Awesome. HMB 10 and to take your class. Perfect. We'll put it out there. A lot of people will see it and appreciate having you, man.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
All right, Johnny.